everybody, I'm Felix and I'm in Korea. Today I'm going to be doing a very book 1, page 1, chapter 1 of how to make mead. Basically what you're going to need tool-wise, because it may not be completely obvious what the tools are and why you might want them. So let's give you a list. First of all, I'm going to have to say, get a notebook. Get a nice, solid, durable notebook, because you need to take painstaking notes. So that way, if you make something and it's awesome, you can replicate it. Very important. Now, if you just want to slop together some prison hooch, not really necessary, but if you're going to make mead, you're going to make it well, take notes. Okay, so this is a very long shoehorn. I use it to stir. And I prefer this because I've got a large metal spoon, but it can scratch up my plastic fermenters. Wood will not do that, and it works just fine, and it's easy to sanitize with Star San, brewer's friend. Silicone tubing. You'll go through a lot of this, especially if you use it as blow-off tubes, because they get dirty on the inside and don't really clean well. But it's cheap, so try to always have at least 1 or 2 of these hanging around. This is a bottling wand. It's got a spring-loaded tip. Spring. That basically, so you're going to have it on the end of this tube, and it's going to go into the bottom of your bottle. And you're going to push down, boop, and the suction, which you've already established with your lovely little siphon here. It'll be on the other end of the tube, and you'll into this. Now, but when you start it, you have to push down so that it can actually flow out, because it stops it. And the point of having this is, once it's flowing, you go all the way up to the neck and let it go, it stops flowing, and you bring it out, and you've got the perfect amount of alcohol in your bottle, and the vacuum stays. So you get another bottle, and you can continue the process without having to restart the siphon. Very nice. I can't stress how nice that is. It keeps things nice, keeps things clean, keeps things sanitary, because you don't have to keep touching things more than once. Very nice. Oh, and while I'm at it, bottles. I recommend glass bottles. Plastic, not ideal for long-term storage. You can ferment in plastic, no problem. Long-term storage, you want glass. Now, you could use regular wine bottles and cork it, cool. But I like to reuse my bottles a little easier than that, and bale top bottles are perfect for that. These cost me maybe $3 a pop. Maybe. Depends. Now, you could also go with beer bottles. This is a little stubby beer bottle I have. It's not the proper stubby, which has no real neck, but it has the long neck so that I can cap it with a wing capper. And it works well. As you can see, this is my cherry limeade mead that I made and gave out at work for Christmas presents. Hopefully they like them. They'll have drunk them by now, I'm sure. Works well. Okay. What else do we need? We need, and this is quite critical, a flask and a hydrometer. They break. Be careful. So some people say fill up, then put the hydrometer in, measure it. Put the hydrometer in first. That way it'll fill up and float to the desired level. This is critical on your process, because it tells you how much sugar's in it at the beginning, the OG, original gravity, not original gangster. And then again, when you're finished, you run it again to see how much is left, and then you can calculate the two to determine what your total ABV is, which is not hard. It's a simple equation, but there's online calculators, so you could get an app for it. Super easy, no problem. Get it. Have 2. I have 2 because one of these days it's going to break, and my hubris will not let me imagine that I won't break it, because I'm super clumsy. So have at least 2. personal opinion. You will need nutrients. This is DAP, diammonium phosphate. It is your standard nitrogen-rich nutrient. The one I usually use is a mixture of DAP and food-grade urea, and it works great. You will get very vigorous fermentation. Some people say, but urea, that's urine. Dude, it's not urine. It's one of the components of urine, and it's food grade. It is sterile. It has no flavor. It does not affect your alcohol in any way other than making the yeast go crazy, which is what you want. So use it. And let's speak of yeast. You could use Lalvin 71B. There's several different versions of Lalvin. It's a very good yeast. I'm very happy with it. Mangrove Jack's MO5 Mead yeast, 18%, very strong. It's really good. Has nice fruity esters. Flocculation is good, so it settles out and clears easy. It's an excellent yeast. Or Fleischmann's Active Dry. But that's just bread yeast. Yes, it is, and it works just fine. It works great. In fact, if you're going to use yeast for, there's one called Joe's Ancient Orange Mead, a great mead, and it specifically says use bread yeast. They've tried different ones, and this is the one that's the best for that recipe. So, trust me, it works. Okay, what else do we need? You will need bungs for sealing up your containers. And let's talk about containers. This is one of the containers that I had left over from the apple cider comparison, the sizer comparison video. And this is what's left. You pour out the ones you need, put in the honey and your yeast and your nutrients and everything else. Put the bung in, put an airlock. It will do the job. However, on most fermentations that are going to be super active, I recommend using a blow-off tube, which basically you take one of these, you thread some of this into it, and put the other end into like a big jar of water or something. That way you can still get the airlock out of it, and if it goes crazy and starts shooting goo into the jar, you're not going to make a big mess. Or because if you use one of these and it goes crazy, it will rocket to the ceiling, and you will have some explanations to make. And there will be some exclamations too when you see it. So yeah, and a mess to clean up as well. Nobody wants that. Blow-off tube, highly recommended. What else do we have? Oh, other fermentation vessels. So this is great if you're doing a liquid only ferment, but a lot of us like fruit in our meads, so we have others. This one is a smidge over a gallon, and it works well. I had to drill my own hole for the O-ring here, and put it in myself so that it can fit a bubbler, and it works great. And you can take fruit in and out easily. I recommend using a mesh bag to carry the fruit in. That way it's easy in, easy out. You don't have to mess with it. However, some research has shown that you get better flavor if you don't use the bag, because the bag absorbs some of that flavor and locks it in. It's just a matter of convenience, and I've done it all with the bag because I don't like the extra work. So it's your call. What else can we use? I've got a small one, and it even has a little screw off for pouring, but it holds the bung great. Just screw it in there and boom, good to go. However, if you're going to use this, because I don't see a point in making a smaller than a gallon batch, I just don't. But if you make a gallon batch and the angel share, or is the amount you're going to lose from fermentation and the yeast at the bottom, is going to give you less than a gallon. This is less than a gallon. Boom, you put it in there, you're good to go. And it's a little easier to store. It's got a nice handle. It's all good. Then we've got 17-liter bucket. Has a spigot on it. It's great for larger ones or ones where you're going to have a whole lot of fruit, just to keep it easier to work with, because when you add in fruit, it means you're reducing the amount of product you're going to have, because you have to take it out later, and it takes it down. This is great, airtight. Got your gasket there. Excellent. What else do we have? Star San, brewer's friend. Keep your stuff sanitized and clean. Use Star San. There's other products you can use specifically made for brewing, and there's a lot of different flavors of Star San. Not that you would taste it, but for different uses, get Star San. It's what you want. Promise. And instead of just dumping the batch when you're done using it for whatever, put it into a spray bottle and use it forever. Well, a couple weeks. So, we've got an air pump, and I have an air stone, and you can just drop that into your must and let it run. Give it 20 minutes, and it'll have enough oxygen in it, because your must will want oxygen in order to flourish. So do that. You don't need it. This is extra. I had it. I'm going to use it. You could just cap it up and shake the hell out of it, and it will do the job. But you have to do a lot of it. A lot of it. Because when you think you're done, it's probably not even all the way mixed in. And you put it down, and then you'll see the honey settle to the bottom again. Not all of it, but some of it. Takes a lot of work. This takes the work out. That's how I am. You want bottle caps if you're going to bottle with bottles. Wildflower honey. It is your middle of the road honey. I mean, the honey's good, but I mean, for flavor profile, wildflower honey is kind of your middle of the road. You've got some awesome options. There's avocado honey, mesquite honey, orange blossom honey, which is amazing if you're doing something like a Joe's Joe's Ancient Orange. Worth it. What else do we have? Notes, bottles, different kinds of yeast, tools, containers. All things said and done, if you want to get started with your base setup, the tube's going to cost you $3. The wand and siphon are going to cost you maybe $20. Totally worth it. It's a one-time purchase. You'll never need to replace it unless something happens. We've got shoehorn, a couple of bucks, Grocery Mart. Yeast can get spendy if you get some of the better yeast. Still, it's only probably going to be like $2-3. Not bad, because I mean, for a gallon, you're going to use one packet is about for 5 gallons, more or less. But for 1 gallon, I use a half a packet. That means that $3 is $1.50. Not bad. Cheaper, and you get quite a lot out of it. Worth it as well. Airlocks, $1.50. Cheap. Bottles, $3 and under each. No problem. You'll reuse the heck out of them. Star San. This is a little more spendy, and it is not like a one-time purchase. But that said, it's going to last a good while, and it's necessary. I'm just going to say it's completely necessary. All right. The flask, $3-4. Hydrometer, maybe $10. Like I said, get 2. That is our cost and the basic tools we're going to need. When you make your must for your mead for your first one, you're not going to need a lot of this. You're not going to need the siphons, because that's really for secondary. You're not going to need the tubing unless you need to install a blow-off tube, and then you'll want it. Just make sure you have your yeast, your nutrients, your honey, of course. Use good water. If your water is iffy, has a weird smell, don't use it. Buy bottled, purified water. Not reverse osmosis water, because that takes all the minerals, which imparts a better flavor to your mead. But just spring water from a big bottle, and it's fine. We're good. I mean, really, you in order to make your first mead, all you need is a container, some yeast, some honey, and water. All the rest is extras. Do you need this to stir it up? No, you can shake the heck out of it and do the job, but I prefer to stir. Do have a notebook. Take your notes. Very important. That said, That's all the information I can offer you for this particular subject. Look out for my next video, which was going to be I believe it's going to be a 2-gallon batch of traditional that I'm going to change into 1 different gallons of different flavors in secondary. Peace out. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Like and subscribe.